Hello, I'm Susan Woods of Susan Woods Nonprofit Solutions. Thank you for your time. I would like to talk with you about how you can make a difference in your community by starting a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Before I elaborate on that topic, I would like to give you a little bit of information about me. I started a 501c3 nonprofit organization myself back in 2003 called Comprehensive Community Based Solutions Incorporated. I've earned three nonprofit management certificates, one from Winthrop University, one from Wake Forest University, and one from Duke University. I believe in the importance of lifelong learning, especially if you are sharing information about the nonprofit sector. I facilitate in person classes. I teach my classes on the first and third Saturdays of the month, normally. Of course, we are in unusual times right now, but normally I teach a grant writing master class on the first Saturday of each month and one of the four fundamental nonprofit classes on the third Saturday of each month. And I look forward to being able to resume those classes, teaching those classes. I facilitate online classes. I complete the Form 1023 application for recognition of exemption for people who want to start 501c3 nonprofit organizations. I also complete the reinstatement process for people who would like to reinstate their 501c3 status after being revoked by the Internal Revenue Service for failing to file a Form 990 information return for 3 consecutive years. So, this is my background. I started a 501c3 myself, so I have experience with starting and managing a 501c3. I operated it for 10 years. I believe in the importance of lifelong learning, which is why I earned three nonprofit management certificates. I facilitate in-person classes so that we can have an opportunity to network among nonprofit leaders who share a passion for service. I also facilitate online classes. I normally create the classes in an on-demand format so that you can learn at your own pace, around your schedule, in the privacy of your home. I complete the startup application packet, the Form 1023, for people who want to start 501c3 nonprofit organizations. And I complete the reinstatement process for people who want to reinstate their status. So, this is my background in a nutshell. From 2003 until now, I've served in the nonprofit sector. Again, the name of my company is Susan Woods Nonprofit Solutions, and through my company, I help community leaders start 501c3 nonprofits across the country. Since 2010, I have worked with nonprofit leaders from several states to complete their 501c3 application packets, which are also known as the Form 1023 application for recognition of exemption across the United States successfully. Specifically, since 2010, Susan Woods Nonprofit Solutions completed 105 application packets and has a 100% approval rating from the Internal Revenue Service. What this means is I've completed the Form 1023 application for recognition of exemption for 105 people, and I have earned a 100% approval rating from the Internal Revenue Service. And this is as of April 14th, 2020. Susan Woods, which is myself, I feel funny talking in a third person, but Susan Woods uses 12 methodical steps to help clients across the country start or reinstate 501c3 nonprofit organizations. I use 12 steps that I've developed that work to help clients across the United States start or reinstate their 501c3 nonprofit organizations. The fee I charge to complete customized 501c3 startup or reinstatement applications is only $1,200 upfront. Now, I'm sharing this information with you early on in this video message because I want you to decide whether or not you want to continue listening to me talk about the services that I provide. I don't like to listen to video messages where the presenter waits 30, 40 minutes into the presentation and then shares the fee, which is normally astronomical. I want to be upfront and transparent with you again so that you can determine whether or not you want to continue listening. Now, I hope you continue listening because throughout the remainder of this video message, I'm going to justify the $1,200 cost. I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of this presentation, you will agree with so many other people who have said this, my fee is not enough. So I hope that you continue to listen to the video message so that I can explain why the $1,200 fee is fair. So the 12 customized steps that I use, and I use these steps to, again, complete the Form 1023 application for recognition of exemption, which is the same thing as the 501c3 application packet. So you're going to hear me referring to those two things interchangeably. So the Form 1023 application for recognition of exemption is the 501c3 application packet. And I use these 12 customized steps to complete that information for my clients, complete those application packets for my clients so that they can receive their determination letters, which are the approval letters from the IRS that would allow them to implement services to enhance their communities. Okay, so now let's talk about the steps. What are the 12 steps? Step 1 of 12, reserve consultation. I'm inviting you to reserve a private phone consultation to discuss your 501c3 nonprofit vision and the types of community services you plan to provide. These are mandatory phone consultations because I want to listen to a potential client tell me all about their vision and the types of services they want to provide in their communities and why. During this consultation, I am silently writing notes and listening to what you share with me. And while I do that, I am also determining whether or not your vision and your plans meet the IRS qualifications for 501c3 consideration. The IRS has what it calls 8 purposes that a vision must fit into one of the 8, not all 8, but it has 8 purposes, okay? Your vision must fit into one of the 8 purposes the IRS uses to determine whether or not your idea, your vision, your program services meet the qualifications to apply for 501c3 status. So while you are explaining your vision, your plans, what you want to do in the community, I am determining whether or not your vision falls within one of the 8 purposes. So that is why the consultation is mandatory. I do not complete application packets without talking with a potential client first. So that's step 1 of 12. Step 2 of 12, a contractual agreement. After we've had our consultation and after we agree that your vision plans, ideas fall within the guidelines of the 8 purposes of one, at least one of the 8 purposes, then I will explain my process to how I complete the application packet, and then I will send you a contractual agreement if you want one. The contractual agreement lists all of the tasks I complete for you, the client, the disclaimers, and the next steps. I want you to have everything in writing that I'm promising to do for you if you hire me to complete your 501c3 application packet. Step 3 of 12. If we agree that we're ready to move forward with my services, then I will ask you to process the payment. Now, at the very bottom of the contractual agreement, I have a PayPal link that will allow you to process the $1,200 payment securely. Step 4 of 12. After you've processed your $1,200 payment securely using the PayPal link, I will send you a timeline. Now, the timeline is called an application completion timeline that includes the list of tasks that I'm going to complete for you chronologically. For example, the timeline will let you know when you can expect to receive every document that is required as a part of the application packet. And it will also include the dates in which I would expect your feedback on those documents. For example, I might say your timeline starts on this date and it ends on this date. I ask for 15 business days. Now, within those 15 business days, I'm going to send you different documents at different time frames. For example, I may say, okay, you will receive your bylaws on May the 5th. That's one line of the timeline. On the second line, underneath that line, I would say, would you please send your feedback on the bylaws by May 7th? And you will have all of the documents listed in that way so that you would know when to expect to receive documents from me for you to read and for you to give me feedback. People provide feedback. They may say something like, we need to revise this article. I don't like the way this is phrased. This doesn't reflect what I want. And we go back and forth. I will create 3 drafts of each document if necessary at no additional charge. We collaborate. That is why my clients are so successful, because we collaborate with each other. I provide consulting. If a client wants me to make changes in a document that I know the IRS will not approve, we talk about it. That's how I work. So the timeline lets you know when you can expect to receive documents from me, when I need your feedback, and it covers a 15 business day time frame. Now, step 5 of the process is acquire your EIN. Susan acquires the Employee Identification Number, or EIN letter, on behalf of the client. Yes, I do. I will complete the steps online to acquire your EIN. The EIN number, or the EIN letter, is required to start a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So I will follow the steps to get that number for you. Now, if you are uncomfortable with me using your Social Security number to acquire the EIN, which is required, the Social Security number is required to get your EIN, then I will send you the steps that I've created for you to acquire the EIN yourself. Now, you may be wondering, well, why would the IRS need my Social Security number to acquire my EIN? The Social Security number is merely used to validate your citizenship in the United States of America. You have to have citizenship here in order to get an EIN. Now, the EIN is used to track all of the financial transactions for your 501c3. It sort of acts like the Social Security number for a nonprofit organization, just as our Social Security number acts on our behalf. So it's an important number. It's a required number that you must have in order to even get a 501c3 status. Step 6 of 12. We are halfway there. Step 6, file articles. Susan completes the state application to file the Articles of Incorporation with the Secretary of State office in the appropriate state. Now, this is outside of the normal duties of filing your 501c3 application for recognition of exemption or completing your 501c3 application for recognition of exemption, because this is a state level requirement. Nevertheless, I complete the application for you to file your Articles of Incorporation with whatever Secretary of State office in the appropriate state where you live or where you plan to offer services. I take on this task because I want the process to be smooth. The IRS will not grant 501c3 status if your articles are not filed appropriately with the Secretary of State office in the state in which you plan to operate. What does that mean for me? That means, realistically, since I am servicing people across the United States, I would need to learn and be able to use the application process for 50 states. 50 states, if I'm going to help people in all states, right? Now, thus far, I've helped people in 22 states to get their 501c3 status, which meant I had to learn the filing process for 22 different states because every state is different. Every state is different. But that is a task that is a part of your fee that I complete for you. This is an additional task. And frankly, I don't know many consultants who will complete this process for you, customized for whatever state you plan to offer your services. So step 6 is file the Articles of Incorporation with the appropriate Secretary of State office. Step 7 of 12. Step 7 is write the bylaws. Every document I write from scratch for my clients. I don't use cookie cutter documents. Now, there are some similarities, of course, among the documents, among the different clients, yes, but I make sure I customize each document specifically for the client that I'm serving. So I write the bylaws that include all appropriate articles according to the client's vision. Your bylaws will include all, I think it's 12 articles, different articles within the bylaws, according to your vision. And the IRS also requires that the bylaws include the names, addresses, and phone numbers for your board of directors. So that information is also included in your bylaws. So obviously that has to be customized because every client has a different board of directors. So I write the bylaws for you from scratch. I send you the first draft of the bylaws, and my email will say in the subject line, for review and feedback, bylaws draft 1. And then I say, dear client, the first draft of your bylaws is attached for your review and feedback. And then you go through and you read it and you tell me what all you need changed. And then I make those changes. I send you draft number 2, send you an email letting you know this draft number 2 needs need for you to review and provide feedback. You provide feedback. I go in draft number 3. That's how I work for every document that I write, every document that I complete. I do that process. I complete that process for you. Okay, step 8. We're almost there. Step 8 of 12 steps to completing the 501c3 application packet. Step 8, write the narrative. Susan writes the narrative description of activities which describe the past, present, and planned activities for the nonprofit organization. The narrative represents the heart of your application packet because it explains to the exemption specialist why your nonprofit vision, mission, program services that you would like to implement in the community deserves 501c3 status. The exemption specialist is looking for you to describe whatever past activities you've completed that relates to what you want to complete, the present activities you're completing that relate to what you want to complete, and then a long list of planned activities. What are you planning to complete? Now, you might say, well, I don't have any past experience. Let me give you an example. Let's say you wanted to start a daycare center for children, and you want to start it as a nonprofit organization. And you've never done that before as a nonprofit organization, but you have worked in a daycare center before in the past for someone else. But that would count as past activities. What are you presently doing? Presently, you're simply applying for 501c3 status in order to implement the planned activities. So that's what I normally put for my clients in the present section. I put we're presently applying for 501c3 status because A, B, C, D, E. And then in the planned activities, that's where we really get into the weeds. We really explain what we are going to do. That is when you paint a visual picture for the exemption specialist to see how those kids are going to enjoy your daycare center. What are you doing every day? Who's teaching? What are you teaching? How are you teaching? When are you teaching? Who, what, where, when, and why is covered, are included in the planned activities. That's why this section is called the heart of your 501c3 nonprofit organization. And I do a fantastic job of laying that out for my clients. Step 9 of 12. Write the conflict of interest policy. Susan writes the conflict of interest policy to show that the client is starting a 501c3 nonprofit organization to benefit the community and not for personal gain. This conflict of interest policy statement or document is about 4 or 5 pages long. But in a nutshell, you're basically saying that I promise I am starting this nonprofit organization to provide the services I described in my narrative. It is not to create an illegal cover to distribute funds to myself, to my family, to my whomever. It is for the community. I promise. That's what this statement is saying. Now, you will have a personal gain through your salary that you will determine and that the IRS will approve. But other than that, the financial gain shouldn't be anything else. That's how people get in trouble. And so that's why the conflict of interest policy is in place, because in that document you are saying in so many different ways, I think I counted 12 different ways, you are promising that the money is going to be used the right way. So I'll write that policy for you so that you can read it and agree to it. Step 10 of 12, we're almost there. Write financial data report. Susan writes the financial data report using the information in the narrative to list the projected revenues and expenses for the first year and 2 subsequent years. We have to create a report that shows how much you think it's going to cost in terms of expenses to offer the services you described in the narrative. That's why the narrative must be written before the financial data report, because we use the information in the narrative to write the financial data report. I have created an Excel spreadsheet that I use to input the financial data for my clients. And I use a formula to project the revenues and expenses out from the first year, the second year, and the third year. We have to do the first year and 2 subsequent years in the financial data report. How do I determine what goes into the financial data report? The first thing I do is I brainstorm. I brainstorm using the information in the narrative to write a list of things that would be required to offer the services. Going back to the daycare, I would use the information in my narrative to say, what do we need to operate this daycare? Do you need supplies? Do you need food? Do you need a location? Do you need people? Everything that my client needs to operate a daycare center, I will write down. That's step one. Step two, I would then divide those expenses or those needs into three categories: program expenses, operating expenses, and personnel expenses. And then I would move all of those pieces of the puzzle of the budget under those three categories. Then I would do my research and I would find out how much it costs for each of those items in those three categories. For example, if I say I need some crayons, okay, if I'm going to have 20 kids, I need 20 packs of crayons. I would find out how much one pack of crayon costs from Office Depot, Walmart, or someplace, and then I would multiply that by 20, and that would give me my total cost for crayons. I would do that for every single thing that's listed, right? Then I would cite the source of that cost because we can't arbitrarily say, okay, crayons cost $2 a box. We have to have proof of that. And so I would put my source as Walmart or wherever. I would do that for every single thing listed. That is a time consuming process. You're talking about calculating rental expense, you're talking about calculating personnel expense, you're talking about calculating out of program expenses. That's the expenses section. I always start with the expenses first. Then, once I've gotten my projected expenses, I go back to my revenues. Now, revenues are not as defined as expenses because you can do your research and get a pretty good understanding of how much your research, how much your expenses are gonna cost, right? Revenues, not so much. We don't know where the money is gonna come from. Let's just be honest. Have no idea. But we have 5 categories of revenues that I will list for my clients. And then I will, based on my clients' feedback, I will I will divide the expenses among the 5 categories of revenues. 5 categories of revenues include the regular donations, right? That you're going to ask people. I like to call them investments and not donations, but the investments are donations. That's one category. Second category, fundraising proceeds. How much money do you get from fundraising, right? A third category could be unrelated business income, meaning, are you going to sell something to raise money? Not exactly a fundraising event, but something that you can sell. For example, like maybe the person that started the daycare has a curriculum that works excellent for her students, well, or his students. They can sell the curriculum to other daycare centers. That would be considered as unrelated business income for the nonprofit organization. The fourth category would be fees. Are you going to charge fees for the children who are going to be enrolled in your daycare? And the fifth category of revenues will be grant writing. How much money do you think you would generate from grant writing? So those are the 5 categories of revenues. Now, how do you allocate the projected expenses into those categories? That's a conversation that I would have with my client. And that would be based on who they think they're going to have on their teams. So I would say, are you good at asking people for money? So we may allocate, if they say, oh, yes, I'm fantastic with that, then we may allocate the majority of their revenues that they generate into that category of revenues. So this is a long process, as you can see. Writing a financial data report is a process, okay? But it has to be done, and this is what I do for my clients. So that's step 10 of 12, write the financial data report. Step 11 of 12, write fundraising activities. Susan writes the fundraising activities to show how the client plans to generate the projected revenues. Now, fundraising activities, this document can be confusing just because it's called fundraising activities, right? Fundraising is a form of revenue generation. It's a type of revenue generation strategy. And I wish the IRS would change this document to be called revenue generation strategies. Because under the fundraising activities, we have to list the 5 ways that I just talked about and how you're going to generate revenues and what percentage of your revenues do you think will fall underneath those 5 categories. So I have a document that I break down how you plan to generate revenues depending upon the revenue generation strategy, or in this case, the fundraising activity. So that's a document that I create for my clients. That's step 11, right? Fundraising activities. So step 12 of 12, we have gotten to the 12 steps. 12 of 12 is what? Let's see. Complete the Form 1023. This is the actual application itself. Now, let me just tell you something before I read what this means. When I started my 501c3 nonprofit organization in 2003, I did not know what I was doing at all. Not at all. So I started here. I started on step 12. I said, well, we have to complete the Form 1023, so I guess I start here. What I realized as I started completing the Form 1023 was every few questions it would ask you, have you completed this document? Have you completed your bylaws? Have you filed your articles? Have you written your narrative? And I'm like, what is this stuff? No, I haven't done any of that. So I realized I started where I should have ended, because all of the documents that we've talked about so far must be completed before you even get here. This is the last document. So when you get to those questions asking you if you've done the bylaws, if you've done the narrative, if you've done the financial data report, you can click yes, 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 yes. What I had to do was just stop and go back and do those documents. So that's why this sequence works for my clients, because I know how to complete things in the right sequence because they build upon each other. You can't do a financial data report before you do the narrative. You just can't. You can't. So now, here's step 12. Complete Form 1023. Susan completes the new, emphasize the word new, Form 1023, application for recognition of exemption, using the new electronic filing or e-filing process implemented January 2020. The new IRS commissioner. I'm getting my paperwork out. I'm sorry for the noise. The new IRS commissioner, Tammy Ripperda, Ripperda, announced on January 31st that the IRS was transitioning from a paper-based application packet or application submission process to an electronic filing process. After 50 years of sending in the application packet in paper form, the IRS is transitioning to a new electronic filing process. And again, this was announced on January 31st, 2020. The IRS allowed a 90-day grace period for clients to implement this new process or to submit their application packet using a new e-filing process. That meant we had until April the 30th, 2020 to submit paper-based applications. I confirmed that April 30th date by calling the IRS myself and talking to a nonprofit exemption specialist, the people who process our application packets. And they confirmed that we had until April 30th, 2020 to send paper applications. Well, today, April 14th, 2020, the IRS sent an alert stating that They will no longer accept paper-based applications effective immediately. As a matter of fact, if your paper-based application packet has a date after March the 26th, your application packet will not be reviewed. You will have to submit it using electronic filing. That happened today. I subscribe to the alerts. So, what does that mean for you if you choose to use my services? I plan to transition over to the new electronic filing process on April 20th anyway. So I'm going to use this new process. Clearly, I have no choice. I mean, that's it. No more paper. So I will be using this new process for my clients. Now, all this means is instead of sending paper applications to the IRS along with a $600 check or a $600 money order to process the application, we're not doing that anymore. We have to file the application using a new e-filing process and pay the $600 online through pay.gov. Everything else that I explained, steps 1 through 11, are the exact same. But instead of mailing those documents, we're going to upload those documents to your account. You will complete or create an IRS account to upload your application packet electronically. In that same account, you will process your $600 payment for the IRS to process your application packet. So that's step 12. Complete the Form 1023. So let's review the 12 steps. The first step, reserve consultation. Step 2, you'll get a contractual agreement. Step 3, you'll process your payment. Step 4, I'll send a timeline for you to review and to see when you can expect documents for your review. Step 5, acquire EIN. Step 6, file the articles. So those are the first 6 steps of my process. Step 7, write the bylaws. Step 8, write the narrative. Step 9, write the conflict of interest policy. Step 10, write the financial data report. Step 11, write fundraising activities. And step 12, complete the Form 1023. And please keep in mind that everything I write for you or complete for you, 7 through 12, are customized for you. This information, the documents that I complete for you, are customized documents. Everything is customized. No cookie cutter here. In addition, I create 3 drafts of each of the documents listed in 7 through 12, in steps 7 through 12. If necessary, I complete 3 drafts of each of those documents at no additional charge as a part of the $1,200 fee. So let me pause and ask you this question. Is $1,200 a good price for all of the services that I provide that I've described so far in this video presentation? I know that it is. I know that it's a good price. Frankly, I don't think it's enough. When I look at application packets that my clients share with me after they've been revoked by the IRS, I'm astonished at the amount of money they've paid, $3,000, $3,500. I'm astonished. The quality is poor. And sometimes lawyers have created those packets. I asked for them to show me the packets because I want to see what was done, what happened. And that's for my clients whose status have been revoked. And I'm astonished sometimes at the poor quality of the application packet. I believe that the reason I have earned a 100% approval rating from the IRS is because I take my time. I follow these steps. I want your documents to be as close to perfect as possible. And I work hard, long hours for you. Ultimately, the primary reason that I put so much time and energy into my work is because I care. I care about communities. And I know if I help you earn a 501c3 status, you are going to use that status for the good of your community. That gives me great pride to know that I have impacted communities indirectly across the United States. I want to do good work. I want to see communities thrive. I care about people. And this is my way of demonstrating that. I believe that's worth $1,200. So, what are the next steps? After we have uploaded your application using the e-filing process, then I provide support services. If the exemption specialist processing the Form 1023 application needs more information or clarification, Susan responds on behalf of her clients. You don't have to worry about that. All you have to do is let me know that you've received a letter, and it will be a letter. It will not be a phone call yet. It will not be an email yet. It will be a letter asking for additional information. My clients send that letter to me. They scan it and they send it to me via email, and I take over. I call the IRS exemption specialist listed on that letter if I need to, but 9 times out of 10, it's only a matter of providing extra documentation in writing. I provide that extra documentation. I send that documentation to you, and you sign it. And now we're going to have to electronic sign it or sign it electronically, and you upload it back to your account for that exemption specialist to review. I don't leave you. I am with you until you get your determination letter in your hand. Then we part ways. So it doesn't matter. I've had one client literally, I think we went back 4 times with the exemption specialist because every time I answered the question they asked, they would ask another question. Then they would ask another question. Then they would ask another question. I was so tempted to say, could you please just send all of your questions in one letter? But we finally got it resolved. And I did not charge not one penny more. And that took me off of my schedule, right? That took me off of my schedule because I had to set aside time to get this situation resolved for my client over and over and over and over again with no additional charge. That's included in the $1,200 fee. The determination letter, yay! The exemption specialist sends the client a determination letter when they approve the Form 1023 application for recognition of exemption. When everything has been approved, you will receive a determination letter. I like to call it an approval letter, saying that you have been granted the privilege, and it is a privilege, the privilege to provide community services under a 501c3 designation. And that's special. That is special. And I'm so proud when my clients send me letters or send me emails rather with their determination letters attached to let me know they are on their way. That makes me very, very happy. So let's talk about my clients. As I stated, I have 105 so far and counting from 2010 until today, April 14th, 2020. I have 105 clients that I've helped that have allowed me the honor of completing their application packets. Now, when I first started out in 2010, it was just like a hobby, really. I didn't really look at it as a business opportunity so much. My cousin asked me to, well, my cousin told me they wanted to get a 501c3 status for their church. And so I had been teaching classes on how to complete the 501c3 application packet for a few years, 3 years, for 2007. I started in 2007 teaching that class. So I said, okay, well, do you want me to come to the church or did y'all want to go to the library to learn? And he said, we don't want to learn. We want you to do it. And I was like, hmm, I'd never thought about doing that. I never thought about completing the application packet for other people until then. And I was hesitant then. But I said, let me just give it a shot. And so I did. And of course, they earned their 501c3 status. They received their determination letter. And I still didn't get traction. This is in 2010 now. I did them, people would hear about it or whatever. And I would do one here and there, maybe 2, 3 a year. So, I really didn't see it as a business opportunity until 2016. I decided to upload a video in December 2016 to basically say I'm open for business. And that is when my business took off. That's when this service really took root with the YouTube video, just like so many other entrepreneurs. That was my turning point in December 2016. And I've been blessed by God to have more and more clients each year after that, or since that time. My business has grown exponentially. And I do thank God for it because I'm allowed to do what I love. I love this. So I'm just going to introduce you to a few of my clients that I've been blessed to help over the years. One day I plan to do a presentation featuring all of my clients, but right now I'm just going to start with just a few, just to give you an idea of the type of nonprofit packets I complete for people. 105 clients. Wow. Whew, that's a lot to me. Susan Woods Nonprofit Solutions completed 105 Form 1023 application for recognition of exemption or 501c3 application packets for clients across the country between 2010 and today. The first one is the one that my cousin Gary McIntyre got me started on, and that's Making a Difference Outreach Program. And it provides developmental services and after school programs for youth in Concord, North Carolina. Pastor, Pastor Tommy Steele is the executive director, and it was incorporated in 2010 in Concord, North Carolina. That was the very first application packet I completed. On Cue Performing Arts provides artistic presentations and classes in Charlotte, North Carolina, and surrounding areas. And if you are in Charlotte or in North Carolina, period, I'm sure you've heard of On Cue Performing Arts. Quentin Talley is the executive director, and he hired me in 2011, and it's based in Charlotte, North Carolina. Another one, Pearls of Service. It's a subsidiary of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated to provide community services in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and surrounding areas. Rakita Barksdale was the executive director, and we incorporated in 2012 in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Volga Dance Academy provides ballroom dancing classes for youth between the ages of 4 and 18 years old. Ekaterina Volgina is the executive director, and we incorporated in 2018 based in Atlanta, Georgia. Mituo Village Cultivation Mission introduces the Buddhist philosophy as well as meditation and cultivation to improve lives. Pei Yang Wang is the executive director, and he hired me in 2018. And this organization is located in Albertus, Pennsylvania. Anchored Hope Counseling and Consulting provides mental health psychological services for people in economically distressed communities. Dr. Stephanie Stiltner, is the executive director, incorporated in 2019 in Pikeville, Kentucky. Iban Ethiok, and I may not be pronouncing this name correctly, but provides empowering workshops, sewing classes, and community service projects for girls living in Nigeria, Africa. And I've done several nonprofit organizations that have services based in other countries. So you can have a nonprofit organization in the United States, but the services are provided in another country. And this is an example of that. Memon Udison is the executive director, incorporated in 2020 in Rosedale, New York. So I wanted to give you just a few of the 104 application packets that I've completed, just to give you an idea of the range of types of services that I have experienced with creating. Like I said, one day I'm going to provide a PowerPoint presentation or a video message that highlights all of the nonprofit organizations that I've been fortunate enough and blessed enough to get started or help get started. So here I am. This is Susan Woods. I have experience completing applications for years, specifically since 2010. Thus far, 105 clients across the United States have allowed me to complete their application packets for them. So far, I have a 100% approval rating from the IRS. I facilitate the phone consultations. I provide a contractual agreement. I provide an application completion timeline for you. I commit to a 15 business day turnaround time. Of course, that's contingent upon whether or not we both meet our deadlines in the application completion timeline. I partner with my clients to complete 3 drafts. This is a partnership. You don't ever have to worry about me creating documents without your input. I answer follow-up questions from the IRS. I complete the Secretary of State applications for you. And I believe my fee of $1,200 is very economical. So I'm going to issue a challenge. If you can find a consultant who will complete everything I've described for a lower fee than $1,200, send me the contact information and I will pay their fee on your behalf. If you have a consultant that completes everything that I've talked about in this video message that I complete for my clients, and they charge a lower fee, let me know and I will pay their fee for you. That is a promise. That's how sure I am that no one can beat this price. Not with the quality of services that I provide, not with the level of services that I provide, not with the amount of services that I provide. No one can beat this price, I promise you. Thank you so much for taking the time from your busy schedule to listen to me for almost an hour. I didn't mean to go on this long, but I am so passionate about what I do. So please forgive me for taking so long to explain my process, but I want you to have a thorough understanding of what I would do for you if you hire me to complete your 501c3. How do you do this? All you have to do is go to www.trustsusanwoods and go to the consultings link on the menu. I'm sorry, the consultations link on the menu. Again, www.trustsusanwoods and go to consultations. You will see consultations listed in the menu. Click on consultations and reserve a phone consultation with me. Now, the fee for a 30-minute consultation is $10, and the fee for a 1-hour consultation is $20. However, if you hire me to complete your application packet for you, then I will reimburse the consultation fees. You can't beat that. I facilitate the consultations or host the consultations in the evenings from Monday through Thursday from 7 to 8 o'clock or 7 to 7:30 Eastern Time. So again, the consultations are available Monday through Thursday evenings from 7 to 7:30 or from 7 to 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm on the East Coast. So thank you again for your time, and I hope this information is beneficial to you, and I hope that you will give me an opportunity to complete your 501c3 application packet. Have a great day.